Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Okay.
Squeeze it.
Squeeze it?
Yeah.
Oh, just squeeze it.
Isn't that fun?
Alright, nice. Okay, so, alright, tonight I guess I'm just going to tell a story about my family. And that takes place in good old Dallas, Georgia, whenever I was about 12 years old.
It's the wrong state.
It's the wrong. Anyways, alright, so here we go. So I was on my hands and knees in the garage, cleaning up my father's blood. I had a towel next to my right hand, and countless napkins and bags and cleaning instruments. And I was looking under the saw table, and it was a mixture of blood and sawdust. And as I looked over, I saw this little chunk of something. And I realized it was a part of my father's ring finger that we couldn't find earlier. And as I was looking at it, I also noticed that the family's cat, Spiky, was also looking at it. And then all of a sudden, all this kind of shock and wonderment just stopped. I said, oh, no. I just grabbed the finger, and Spiky just looked at me, his long hair and his whiskers. I was like, Spiky, just get out of here. Then all of a sudden I stopped. The shock had subsided, and I realized, what the hell am I doing? Why the hell am I here? And I thought, did this start about 45 minutes ago when I was with my mother and she was curling her hair and we heard, Kristen! No. No, and I looked at Spiky run off through the cat door. I remember when I was 4 years old in New Jersey and holding this little fluff ball in my hands. And I swear I saw a cat cry that day, or a kitten, because I was deciding between him and the other kittens, which one we would keep, just one. I didn't want that one, I wanted the other cat. When I looked at this little fluff ball in my hands, gray and black and white, saw this little tear or whatever it was, I just thought, okay, can we name him Spiky? So, about an hour earlier, I'd walked out of my bedroom, and my mom wanted to talk to me. My mom was one of those moms that she can't go out unless she has her face on. So, like, God forbid the neighbors knock on the door and she's not ready. Like, oh, my face, you go get the door. So she was in front of, like, the full-length wall mirror, curling her hair. She said, now, Travis, all right, so you're going to babysit your sister, okay? Because your father and I are going on a date. And I think she's in her room, she's just watching a Disney movie. I don't know. And my sister at that time was really into Lion King, so we could hear some music from that. I'm like, okay, so my mom was just like, okay, so just tonight for dinner, just make sure that you start to cook the Kristen! My mom and I just looked at each other in the mirror, and then we just ran downstairs. And then when we walked downstairs into the garage, we saw my dad under the fluorescent light holding his hand in a towel. We just stood there. My mom kind of, man, what did you do this time? And normally I would be perturbed that my mom laughed at whatever violent thing just happened. But you see, my dad wasn't really a stranger to accidents. And so about 2 years earlier, he was selling his motorcycle because my mom said, Matt, you're going to break your leg again unless you sell that thing. So we had a nice yard sale, Georgia style. And this guy came up, wanted to buy the dirt bike, and he goes, well, does that thing run? Ain't got any problems? My dad, excited to show off his bike, that also he was going to now sell, decided, you know what? I'll take it for one more spin, and I'll show you how well it works. So my dad took it for one last spin and ripped the ligaments in his knee. And now he has bolts in his knee. Or 1 year later, when I was 11, and I was getting ready to go to school, and it was about 7 in the morning, and I hear boom, 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 boom. Kristen? My mom, and he's holding his thumb now in a towel. My mom said, what happened? He's like, well, I was getting ready for work, and I just wanted to drill this one thing, and well, I kind of drilled off my thumb, and his thumb was hanging off of his finger. My mom, God damn it. So she drove him to the hospital. Well, now, this year, now I was 12, my dad had a new project, an invention, snappy shelves. And since nobody, surprisingly, wanted to help my dad, he decided to set up his own workshop in the garage. So when my mom said, Matt, how did you do this? He was, well, the bookshelf and Spiky and Littlefield, and I looked up and then the saw just grabbed and he started to take off his towel, and we could see just the blood and the stumps. Mom, oh my God, let's call 911! And so my dad said, no, it's okay. I think I'm in shock. So it doesn't hurt. It's okay. He said, listen, okay, we gotta find my fingers. Oh, okay. So we look at the fingers, my dad goes, oh no, wait, no. Okay, Trav, you go get a cold bag of ice. Go into the cold freezer. Oh my God. I run back down with this cold Ziploc bag of ice. I hope it's good enough for my dad's fingers. I see my parents down there in the sawdust of the wood near the table saw, and my dad goes, Chris, there's one! And it's next to her foot, she goes, oh! Kicks it over to the side of the floor. And I'm like, Spikey's like, meow! And so I just ran over to the finger. I'm pretty sure it was my dad's thumb, but I'm not sure. And then my dad picked up another one, and my mom just, oh, there's another one, just get it! And so we collected them, put them in that cold ice bag, and then put it on the workbench, my dad's old, ancient workbench. Then my parents wrapped up my dad's hand again, and then they rushed outside, went to the car, because they were determined not to pay the ambulance bill. Thankfully, my dad was still in shock. So, they get into the car, and my mom turns on the ignition, she looks at my dad, she says, Matt, where's your fingers? Oh, shit. So he gets out, they run back into the garage, we go, and at this time, I'm actually about to prepare myself to clean the blood up. My dad goes, have you seen my fingers? I remember you guys put them on the workbench. We look at the workbench, they're not there. So we're, oh my God. So we look below, we open the workbench with the old cans of paint and enamels and rusted tools, and we search through it, we see back just light glimmering on the cold bag of ice on my dad's fingers, and it's just teetering on the edge, about to fall into an even lower, more ancient level of this damn workbench. So we just grab it, my dad runs back upstairs, gets back in the car, and they just, boom, just go to the hospital. And I'm just left with, what the hell am I supposed to do now? Do I clean up the bookshelf? Do I clean up the blood? Do I just sit down and think about all of it? And so I go over and get some cleaning supplies and start to clean it up. And then I hear a little kind of knock on the garage door. And my sister opens the door and she goes, Trav? And I'm bent over, cleaning my father's blood, thinking, I don't even know how to explain this. Like, I feel like an axe murderer. All of a sudden I have this weird image in my head of this is what it feels like to be an axe murderer. So I just explain to my sister, I'm like, well, it's Spiky and the bookshelf, and she goes, it's Dad. And so she leaves. I clean up the blood. My dad came back a day and a half later, and so his hand was all wrapped up. And actually, they weren't able to save his thumb, so that's gone, but they were able to save his finger, and much to his chagrin, his middle finger is now crooked. My dad likes to flick people off, and so it's a little bit interesting looking. And his ring finger is gone. And so I looked at my dad and I just said, well, I mean, you were a massage therapist, which I didn't add that detail, but my dad was a massage therapist. I said, so I guess that's out. And he was like, well, I could give really interesting Traeger massages now. Like, I said, well, okay, you can't do massage. I was like, what about snappy shelves? And he was like, oh, you know what? It's easier now. I can cut even closer. It's even more efficient. Just, I didn't even know what to say. And so, but the craziest thing is that the thing that started all this little Rube Goldberg machine of events, was the cat Spiky. And I just remember Spiky was in the garage when I was talking to my dad, and he was hungry, and my dad gave him some food and petted him. And he wasn't angry at all. And in fact, he just thought it was hilarious. And he was able to keep his mind out of the cold and keep it on track.